All right, made it to our next stop. It's right here in just about downtown Casa Grande, Arizona. And what is it, you ask? It's a museum, but not just any old museum. It's an outdoor museum, and not just any old outdoor museum, but it's actually the Casa Grande Neon Sign Park. Yes, sirree, it's a bunch of neon signs that are out here on display. And it's an interesting history about these signs, is that these are all neon signs that operated on buildings at one time or another in the city of Casa Grande. And then when the buildings were either torn down or made into something new, or the owners just didn't want the signs anymore, the city of Casa Grande decided, well, you know what? Let's make a park out of this. And so here it is in all its glory, the Casa Grande Neon Sign Park. Now, it doesn't look like too much right now, but let's wait for the sun to go down a little bit more, and then voila. So the Horseshoe Motel was originally constructed in 1943. Actually, it was first known as the Horseshoe Lodge. Let's see, it was advertised as clean, modern, and even was the first motel in Casa Grande to have air conditioning. Think about that. How hot it gets out here, and nothing had air conditioning until this one came along. So this was the first one that was rescued, but let's go take a look at the first one that was constructed. So the Goddard Shoe Store, the building where it was located, was actually built in 1945. So just a couple years after the Horseshoe Motel. But the sign itself predates the Horseshoe Motel sign. The Horseshoe Motel sign was installed in the 50s. This one was installed in 1945. And the Goddard Shoe Store, as you can tell by the goose there, they specialized in red goose shoes. Now, the oldest building, but not the oldest sign, this sign was installed in 1954. The oldest building was the Hotel Sacaton, an actual hotel, and it was built in 1917. The hotel was actually built, this is interesting, it was actually built on land that was acquired from a guy named Shaughnessy, and the Shaughnessy guy accepted a team of horses as payment for the land. Now, Coxson's building materials was installed in 1954, and the actual company was started by a guy named Quentin Coxson, who returned from the South Pacific after serving in the Navy in World War II. He opened up a building supply store, and the store lasted until 1980s. So the Arizona Edison sign was made in 1950, and that's also when the building was constructed. But Arizona Edison was actually the predecessor to Arizona Public Service Company, and they were here on Florence Street from 1929 until they built a more modern building on 2nd Street in 1950, and that's where this sign was originally installed. Now, the Dairy Queen sign is not a neon sign per se, and it's not a Casa Grande sign per se. This sign actually was constructed on Dairy Queen over on Route 66 in Holbrook, along with the ice cream cone. It was not even the sign was not even installed until I think 1976, and the ice cream cones themselves 1987. But even though they're not neon signs, they they do make kind of a nice little statement right here on the corner of the park here. Here's another 1950 and 1950 sign. So the sign was installed in 1950 on a building that was built in 1950. The guy that owned this shop, Casa Grande Photo Shop, his name was Jim Gorais. He, I guess, was a pretty celebrated photographer. And then finally, Ralph's Cafe. So Ralph Honeycutt owned this cafe. He was actually a farmer in the area, but then he opened Casa Grande's first truck stop with a cafe in 1952 on Highway 84, and it was a 24-hour service cafe. And so he thought, gee, what a good way to advertise his business. And so that's how Ralph's Cafe neon sign was born. And so this is the Casa Grande neon sign park. What'd you think about it? Nice and colorful, huh? And it's a pretty nice little park, just kind of tucked into this little corner of what used to be Main Street, that's now called Jimmy Kerr Boulevard. But it's interesting to see all this down-to-earth stuff, so to speak, right? And also, you know, that was the day, right? Gone are the days where we have the old comfortable neon signs. Not like what we have today, right? Where we're going to next, you know the answer, right? Who knows? But stay tuned.
The next one, I drove that to Chicago and back from Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it runs 75, 80 all day long in the interstate. I didn't have any problem at all. Then the next thing I built was a 49 Mercury.
Okay.
And it happens to be titled as a 2009 Dwarf.